You heard the name, and you are certainly in the comfort zone. KRZK News Time is coming up to 9:04 on this first day of March 2014. Temp at the Office Concept Studios is 34. This is Cool Talk with Allied Air, and I've got to say a very good morning, making his debut here at News Talk 106.3 KRZK, Mr. Tony Martin. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Josh. Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you on the program. Of course, this is a new program, and obviously, whether it's cool or whether it's hot or in between, we're going to give out some really good tips to make sure that they are in the comfort zone, right?
Sure. We're going to cover the home comfort needs of everybody out there. We're going to do our very best to answer all the HVAC questions you have and much, much more.
Perfect. Well, Tony, I tell you what, for our listeners, let's get them kind of caught up with who you are. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right. Well, I have a beautiful wife, Lisa, and 4 wonderful boys at home, 1 in college. We've been in the area about 15 years now, and I'm an industry trainer. I offer classes for HVAC service technicians that have a few years in the field and are ready to step up their game.
All right.
I'm NATE certified. I teach EPA certification, NATE certification, and I own a successful HVAC company right here in town, Allied Air Heating and Cooling.
Fantastic. So how many total years have you been in the business then?
Gosh, the better part of 30 years. Me and my business partner, we have over 35 years combined experience.
That is incredible. So with that amount of time right there, anybody that's looking for a project or looking to improve upon in their home, commercial setting, they can take a lot of comfort in 35 years.
Oh, sure. And we've taken the time to learn what it takes to provide comfort, either with older equipment that may not be functioning properly, or if it's time to replace that, we can do that with great systems for affordable costs.
Fantastic. And Tony, as well, for Allied Air, where are you located here in the Branson area?
Well, our shop is in Hollister. It's right there on BB. It's next to B&L Lawn Equipment.
Okay. So that's a real convenient location. People can find you real easily.
Sure.
And what areas of the Tri-Lakes region, right here in our backyard, what areas does Allied Air serve?
Well, we try to stay within about 25 miles of Branson. That covers, let's just start. We go to Kirbyville, Mildred. We'll go out to Forsyth, around to Ridgedale, Blue Eye, Lampe, Reed Springs, Kimberling City, Branson West, and, of course, Branson.
Well, and two, that's a pretty good swath there as far as coverage. And I got to ask you, my friend, with Allied Air, to make that happen, that's a lot of region there to cover. How many guys do you have on your team?
Well, we have 4 right now.
You have 4, okay.
And we're capable of handling just about anything that we get calls for. Of course, we've experienced, in the 8 years that we've been in business, we've experienced exponential growth over each year. We attribute that to our continuing education and our dedicated service to our customers.
Fantastic. Now, when somebody's wanting to, say, set up a project, or I tell you what, they got questions coming out of this show or any given day of the week, how do they get in touch with you? You guys got a phone, obviously, and you're on social media, I would imagine, too.
Sure. You can get a hold of us. Telephones, it's 417-699-0027. That's my number. My partner, Dave Birch, you can get a hold of him at 417-230-5251. You can always find us online at BransonAlliedHVAC.com. We're on Facebook. Look us up. Like us. There's a lot of information that we put out on Facebook under Allied Air Heating and Cooling.
Fantastic. And for the listeners, obviously, with this debut program, they're going to be curious. They're going to be curious about what types of service that Allied Air can provide them in their home or a commercial setting. What are some of the basic services that Allied Air provides?
Well, our basic service is just that, service.
Yes.
And service covers much, much more than just a broken down system. We come out and we assess the system completely. We get it down to exactly how much your system is costing you per hour to operate. Okay. Then we can make suggestions to improve that number.
All right.
And when we improve that number, we increase the comfort level in your home.
Fantastic. It looks like we might have our first caller on the program. Let's get them on here with us. Good morning. You're on Cool Talk with Allied Air.
Your organization.
Well, that's an automated message,
Sure.
Not a real person. Anyway, moving on. Now, what are some of the homeowner problems? Now, everybody's got problems as far as their home goes, and I tell you what, air conditioning, heating, that's a big deal. What are some of the base problems that your homeowners are coming to you with? What are you seeing?
Mainly in the last couple of years, it's been maybe undersized units for the home, maybe oversized units for the home.
Wow.
Maybe inadequate duct systems. All these have a relationship with how the system runs and operates. And it could be, there's three kind of maintenance. Mm-hmm. There's predictive maintenance. Okay. There's preventive maintenance. And there's reactive maintenance. Most people use reactive maintenance. Josh, what that is when your system breaks down, you give us a call. Okay.
And you shouldn't wait that long.
That is the most expensive maintenance there is. Okay. So what we practice preventive maintenance, and predictive maintenance is for big commercial buildings. They put sensors in all the equipment and they monitor that 24/7.
Okay.
Preventive maintenance is the most cost effective. And what that is we come out to your home, we do an analysis of your system. We make corrections and adjustments in your system. We may have to do some major work to get the thing operating like it's supposed to factory specifications.
Okay. All right.
And that's what you get with us because we are factory trained. And all those specifications on the nameplate of the units, they mean something. And it's up to us, the service technician, to make those numbers come to reality.
Well, and you make a very good point there. I mean, there's no reason why anybody should wait until the last second. Now, here, obviously, I'm a layman today, and I hope to be a master as this show progresses. One thing I've got to ask is on a general service schedule, how often do you recommend a homeowner have their unit serviced in a calendar year?
Well, we do that twice a year, and we don't just pull that out of our hat. We've done extensive studies, and universities have come out with studies, so we follow their guidelines.
Yeah.
If we can clean and tune up before the season starts, be it winter or summer, then we have an idea how the system is performing. And of course, these are mechanical systems; they fail.
Okay.
But if we have a documented and filed information system, when we go out to your home, we pull up your information, and we can tell if that motor's getting worn down. If we could tell if that compressor, how it's performing. So we could document this over the years, and quite often we find, hey, this motor is going to go out maybe this summer. Okay, so we can help you plan for those catastrophes.
Excellent. You are on Cool Talk with Allied Air. Tony Martin making his debut today. It's a great show, friends. We're getting to know Tony and his services, and of course, we've got a lot more inside tips for you. You need to stick around with us. It's Cool Talk with Allied Air right here on the station for Straight Talk and the Comfort Zone, 106.3 KRZK. KRZK News Time is 9:14 on this, the first day of March 2014. 34 is the temp we are seeing here at the Office Concept Studios. It's the debut show, Cool Talk with Allied Air. Tony Martin is in studio. Tony, 14 minutes in, my friend.
Awesome.
This is off to a real good start. Now, I made the comment about myself being a layman before, and I think a lot of the listeners out there can put themselves in my shoes. Now, one of the things kind of maybe bridge and kind of, helping people get familiar, when I hear the term ESA, can you break that down for us and tell us what that is?
Sure. That is our maintenance program that we offer. It's an energy savings agreement. It's not a contract. It's an agreement between you and I that we're going to come out and maintain your air conditioning and heating system to get the optimal performance out of it year after year.
Okay.
And before I get into explaining what that is, I'd like to just explain some definitions so that we're all on the same page.
I like that. I like to be on the same page.
First thing is, what exactly is an air conditioner? Okay, many people think when we think air conditioning, we think of hot weather and turning that thing on to cool us down. Well, it's much, much more than that. Our first functional definition of air conditioning was created back in 1908 by a guy named G.B. Wilson. And it was the definition that Willis Carrier, the father of air conditioning, took into consideration when he created air conditioning. And it's a mechanical device that should be able to maintain suitable humidity in a building, free from excess humidity from the building. Supply a constant and adequate supply of ventilation, efficiently remove microorganisms, dust, soot, and other foreign bodies from the air, efficiently cool a room during summer, heat or help heat the room during the winter, and should have regularly scheduled maintenance to maintain performance.
Going all the way back to 1908.
And that still holds true right here today.
Wow.
And if you'll notice that heating and air was at the bottom of that list. So we actually condition the air year round. Okay. So if your system heats well but doesn't really cool well, if we don't get the air quality that we desire, if we don't have that air exchange from inside to outside, you don't have an air conditioner. You have an appliance that's gobbling up a lot of energy.
And people can relate to super high bills, I would imagine.
Sure. And quite often we're able to reduce the bill by sometimes up to 40, 50, 60% on a heating and cooling system while increasing that comfort level in the home.
So base unit, that there it is. It defines it. I know what an air conditioner is.
And some other terms that people ask us about all the time is BTU. What is a BTU?
What is a BTU? Now, I'd ask you the same question. I mean, obviously, I've heard the term.
Sure, Josh, that's just a measurement of the movement of heat. How much heat do we move? Okay. The British thermal unit, that's what it is.
Thermal unit.
Incidentally, the British don't use that measurement, but we do. And so
you think that's backwards, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. But here's the definition. 1 BTU can raise 1 pound of water 1 degree. Okay.
1 BTU. Okay.
And the reason that's important is because we're going to talk about sizing of a system. A lot of people say, well, what is a ton of air conditioning?
It's like I got a 50,000 BTU unit.
Exactly.
You're like, I can't really tell you much about that.
So a ton of air conditioning is 12,000 BTUs. Where we come up with that is if we have a machine operating at 12,000 BTUs, moving 12,000 BTUs of heat per hour for a 24-hour period, we'll melt a 1-ton block of ice. So, for instance, if you have a 3-ton air conditioner, that's 12, 24, 36,000 BTUs per hour in a 24-hour period would melt a 3-ton block of ice.
Okay.
So
all right.
That's how we come up with a ton of heating and cooling.
I would never have known that. 12,000 BTUs is 1 ton.
Exactly.
Okay.
And increments of 12, 24, 30, 36, 42.
All right.
So that's how we tell what size of system that you have.
All right.
Now, the way that we determine what size unit your house needs is we do a heat load calculation.
Okay.
And it's where we come out and we measure up your home. We take all the information, what your home is made out of, where it is, what direction your home's facing, how many windows are in your home, how many doors are in your home. We put all this into a calculation, and we come up with a heat gain, heat load.
Okay.
And what that is for a typical home, if you have a 3-ton system, then that heat load is going to be somewhere close to 36,000 BTUs. And so it's very important that you get that heat load calculation correct, because if it's undersized, you're going to be paying a lot of money and not be comfortable.
And your unit's going to be working a lot harder than what it needs to then, right?
Exactly. And the same thing holds true for oversized. You see, Josh, for oversized units, it'll run for a few minutes, cool the air, but it won't do anything about the conditioning of the air. We can't pull that humidity out of the air. And so you stay really warm at a lower temperature.
Okay. That's a very, very good point. And that gets me interested to know. I mean, obviously, if you've got new construction, you make changes. You're going to have to have that test redone, right? Safe to say?
Definitely.
More with Cool Talk with Allied Air. Tony Martin is in studio making his debut. You're on the station for Straight Talk 106.3 KRZK. KRZK News Time is 9:24, CN34 here at the Office Concept Studios. It is Cool Time with Tony at Allied Air, and Tony Martin is in studio with Josh Grisham. And Tony, we were left off talking in that last break, about BTUs, breaking that down, and I just learned something new. There's a ton in 12,000 BTUs. That's the education, my friend, that you're providing. I appreciate you for that, very much so. But we've got, now, one of the things that you wanted to talk about, this is a very good point. What is the importance, my friend, between consumption and performance? Why is that so important?
Well, that's important because that's what takes the money out of your wallet and you pay to your power companies.
We'd like to keep more money in our wallets.
I want to explain to you the way that we come up with you've all heard SEER ratings, the SEER ratings.
Yes.
And that develops from an EER, which is an energy efficiency ratio.
Okay.
The SEER is a seasonal energy efficiency ratio. Okay. We look at these two terms. The ratio should tell us something about it. Mm-hmm. It's a comparison between two things. Okay, what two things are we comparing? The consumption versus the performance. Okay, so for every here's the way it breaks down. If you have a 13-piece SEER piece of equipment, which is the lowest SEER you can buy today, you're going to be paying for every watt that you buy. In factory setting conditions, you're going to be getting 13 BTUs. Mm-hmm. And so if we say we have a 16 SEER piece of equipment, we're buying for 1 watt of power, 16 BTUs of heat or heat removal.
Okay.
And so to get the benefit from the heating and cooling system that you have or will buy, is very important that you have a company that is well-versed on getting that thing tuned up and running at its optimal condition.
Between those two ratings, is one more important than the other?
No, in fact, an EER is taken at a one-time period, okay? Everything is specific. The temperature's specific. And the thing is running for 1 hour, okay?
Okay.
And so we take the wattage that we're using, or the kilowatt hours, mm-hmm. and we get our watts, and we get our BTUs that it's actually moving, not what it's rated, and we divide those together to come up with the ratio.
Yes, sir.
Your EER is going to be sometimes a lot lower than your SEER because the seasonal energy efficiency ratio is the same calculations, but instead of 1 hour, we're moving BTUs over a whole season. That's 125 days is what the factory tests for.
Gotcha.
And so in that we have several different conditions. Well, we calculate how many BTUs we've used or will use in a season and calculate the wattage that it's going to take to move those BTUs, and we come up with a SEER rating.
Now, I got to ask you, too, with this. Now, obviously, with the average homeowner out there, if their conditions change at the home, they do some additions there, any portion of the home that changes, now, do they need to have these ratings retested? Is that a smart thing to do?
Well, the ratings are tested on the piece of equipment, okay? And those aren't going to change much, mm-hmm. And we do those ratings every time we're out to the client's house, okay? What needs to happen if you add on or change insulation or things of that nature is you need that heat load calculation to make sure we have enough BTU capacity to service the new area.
Fantastic. Now, with the particular units, if somebody has a new unit installed, one that's pre-existing, and maybe the first time they're walking outside, they're thinking, gosh, Tony knows his stuff. I'm going to go outside and check my unit right now. They're staring at it. Are there any other abbreviations that we haven't covered yet that may be foreign to somebody?
Well, not that I can think of right now. Mm-hmm. What is foreign to people is how the air conditioner and heat pump actually work. I get this call a lot. In fact, I just got the call this morning before I came in. I had a lady call me up and said, I'm kind of concerned. Every once in a while, I don't feel heat coming out of the registers, mm-hmm. and I smell a burning smell coming through the house.
Yeah.
And the outside fan motor doesn't work, and there seems to be smoke coming up off my heat pump.
That's not good.
Well, it's kind of scary to look at, especially if you've never seen it before, but all that is absolutely normal.
Okay.
What's happening there is we're going through a defrost cycle on the outside unit. In the wintertime, we're going to build up ice around that coil. There's nothing we can do to prevent that. Mm-hmm. So what we do is add a defrost cycle into the system, and once it reaches conditions that it needs to defrost, it'll automatically go into that cycle. The outdoor fan will shut down, and what's happening is it reverses the refrigeration, so we're bringing the heat back out to that unit to melt the ice off of it. At the same time, we're going to turn on the heat strips to provide heat, and that's the burning sensation that she's smelling.
Fantastic. Tony Martin, you are on Cool Time with Tony at Allied Air. Josh Grisham in studio. KRZK News Time coming up to 9:30. Your Fox News update is on the way. 34 here at the Office Concept Studios. KRZK News Time is 9:33:35 here at the Office Concept Studios. You're on with Josh Grisham. This is Cool Time with Tony at Allied Air. That Tony we'll be talking about is Mr. Tony Martin, making his debut here at News Talk 106.3 KRZK. And Tony, right, last break we got into, we were actually breaking down those abbreviations that may be foreign to people out there, first-time homeowners, or cares if you've had a unit for several years. It's helping us understand a little bit better what it is we're looking at.
Sure. I'd like to discuss with you now the ESA. Okay?
I am very curious about ESA, and a lot of our homeowners are too.
Our ESA program is just that. It's an energy savings program. And what we do is we look at the 5 energy cost factors of your HVAC system. Okay?
I didn't even know there was 5.
There's 5 energy cost factors, and most people don't know. Even service companies don't realize that these areas are energy cost factors. Mm-hmm. And I'm using a study that LSU came out with, and this is what that our ESA is based on. Okay, so we look at the 5 energy cost factors of your system. That's the outside coil, the inside coil, the actual blower, the fan blade of the inside blower.
Okay,
and we call it a squirrel cage because that's exactly what it looks like.
Yeah.
The duct system is a big one, and the refrigeration is a big one.
Okay,
this is a shocker when I found this out. 83% of the home comfort systems in America are either overcharged or undercharged. Okay,
and so not right where they need to be.
Not where they need to be at all. In fact, if you have a technician come out to your home and we use superheat and subcooling to charge, if they put that right on the superheat or subcooling value that they're looking for, mm-hmm. you only have a 25% chance of having an accurately charged system. Now, these are not numbers I'm coming up with. These are studies that's been done by universities nationwide.
Is there a reason why it's not where it needs to be?
It is. The reason is we have a lot of new technology come into the industry in the last even 5 years.
Yeah.
If you're not up on the latest technology and you don't get the factory training offered, you don't understand what's going on with the refrigerants. Because used to, Josh, you could go out and put a system in, 10, 15, 20 years ago, and they were real liberal on their performance levels. Okay, that means that we could be off here and there a lot. The tolerances were a lot larger. Mm-hmm. Today our tolerances are really, it's a fine line that we walk. So we have to make sure that the duct system is adequately sized, sealed, and insulated. We have to make sure that the system itself is sized right for the home again. We have to make sure that when we install or service that piece of equipment, that we understand the manufacturer's warranty, the nameplate, the data sheet mm-hmm. that says that this is a blank SEER piece of equipment. And we have to know how to get that performance out of the system. The only way to do that is study and experience.
And that's amazing. I mean, I'm going to tie that right back into, again, your team and 35 years plus in the industry. That means your eyes are more finely attuned. So you're looking at these 5 different points, and you're going to know if one's off.
Oh, definitely. And in the case study that we're going to be talking about in future shows, they say that most households have at least 2 problems with, or 2 out of the 5 problems associated with these power factors.
That is remarkable. I mean, now, obviously, when you're going out there too, again, and you made a good point tying it in at the home as far as like your duct work, if there's any type of air leaks. So obviously, you talk about a general contractor and doing these blower door tests on a home.
Sure.
If something's off there, I mean, obviously, you guys are not home builders, but I mean, that's stuff that you can sense too on the home side.
Oh, definitely, and we do look at the whole house as a system. Mm-hmm. We have thermal imaging cameras that we take in, and it allows us to see infiltration. It allows us to see where your insulation is not adequate, and we take that information into consideration also.
Well, and that's a good question that I would have for you. Obviously, I mean, you make a pretty clear case that you guys have the latest in technology to make these accurate detections when you're out on a job site, whether it's commercial or the home. Do you guys at Allied Air, do you make a consistent effort to always be checking for the latest equipment updates on a yearly basis, and that way you're always working with the best?
Well, we do that on a monthly basis.
Wow.
And of course, as needed. Mm-hmm. If something comes out on the market that we think that's going to be able to help us diagnose and get the good data that we need to make intelligent assumptions about your system, we definitely look into those.
Fantastic. Great topics of discussion here, friends. It is Cool Time with Tony at Allied Air. You do not want to miss it. I've got some great questions coming up for Tony. We're talking about the 5 points that affect your ESA. I've got a good question for him when we come back from the break. You're listening to News Talk 106.3 KRZK. We are broadcasting proudly from the Office Concept Studios, where Office Concepts means office confidence. KRZK News Time is 9:40, Saturday, March the 1st, 2014. We are seeing 35 here at the Office Concept Studios. And you are on Cool Time with Tony at Allied Air. And of course, Tony and I have been talking about your Energy Star ratings and certain impacts and different changes in your home, your ductwork that can impact that. And before we went into the break, I was telling listeners there that I was going to have a very good question for Tony. And Tony, we were talking about the 5 points that can affect your bill and take money out of your pocket. My friend, the question that I had for you is which one of those 5 points is the worst? Which one does the most damage?
Well, of course, Josh, together, all of them do a lot of damage.
Yeah.
We can adjust refrigerant levels. We can clean coils. We can clean that blower wheel. We can do a lot of things with the functionality of the system. Mm-hmm. But the one thing that's going to eat up most of your energy cost, if it's not taken care of, is your duct system. When we spend all that money to heat and cool this air, and you lose it before it gets into the rooms that it's designed to heat and cool.
And when you're going out to these the commercial sites and these homes, and this is going to probably tie directly back into our listeners, because there's maybe some out there that are listening to the program that are living a nightmare right now as far as their ductwork. For example, what's some of the worst that you guys have seen when you've been out and about?
Well, the worst that we've seen is people make ductwork out of a fiber board. It's called duct board.
No.
And it does fine for about a year. After that, it starts to deteriorate, especially if you're in an attic or if you're under the home with the duct.
Uh-huh.
And it's just start crumbling apart, and you have no duct system. That's the worst case scenario. But if they're not sealed, if the insulation around the ductwork has fallen off for some reason, we need to get that corrected, and that's going to save you a ton of money on your electric bill. Well,
and you made some good points too as we kick the show off too. Is having a unit that's either too small or a unit that's too big. And again, I guess you could liken the situation. Let's say, for example, you've got a home that let's say gets a lot of front-facing light or just a lot of light in general, and you're running this unit that could be used for a commercial-sized building. That'd be a wrong situation, right?
Sure, definitely wrong. You're going to be paying a lot in energy bills, but more than that, you're never going to achieve the comfort level that you bought the thing to do in the first place.
Holy cow! That's very, very good points. And one of the things too. Obviously, we were talking off air, talking about this upcoming weather that's going to hit us on Sunday, and we could be lucky and say, well, you know what, this stuff is gonna dodge us, but it doesn't look like that's the case. When you get into these temperatures, let's say when we're getting down into the single digits, your wind chill is -5. Is there anything that an average homeowner out there that can do with their heating and cooling?
Well, sure. As long as we maintain power, which I hope we do here in Branson.
Oh, yeah.
Once the temperature reaches a certain point, and for the older systems with the R22 refrigerant in it, and you probably don't know what refrigerant you have as a homeowner, but if your system is older than, say, 5 years old, it's probably a good idea at about 30 degrees, when you know it's going to dip down and stay down for a while, to flip it over on emergency heat. Now, that's your heat strips on the inside of the house. And yeah, it costs a lot more to operate that. But if you think about it, your heat pump is going to be operating all the time and not supplying adequate temperature to the home in those temperatures. So then it brings on the heat strip, and it runs all the time and never satisfies, but you're running both the heat strip and the heat pump. So if we flip that over for when it's going to be really, really cold for a couple of days, it's really better on your pocketbook that way.
So flip it over to emergency heat. What's a good temp range when you flip that over?
Like I said, if it's 5 years or older, I would say around 30. If it's a newer system, depending on the SEER rating, depending on the quality of the system, some of them can go. I've got a customer now that can go down to about 12 degrees before he has to rely on his emergency heat.
Unbelievable. Now, obviously, that's a good point. Switching over to emergency heat with the cold weather like it is right now, and I got to ask you, you've probably seen this several times over in homes, mercury thermostats.
Oh, yeah.
Now, how important is it to somebody that's got a mercury thermostat? Do they need to be acting now?
Well,
or making some changes
yeah,
possibly.
It depends, and I haven't really heard how quickly the temperature is going to drop today. But definitely tonight before you go to bed, you need to flip that over on emergency heat if you have a heat pump. Okay. Now, of course, if you have propane or gas furnace, just run those normally.
Okay. Now, what as far as on the back end, obviously we're talking about the proper temperature settings for the cold weather. What is maybe some unexpected damage that could be done to a system, especially with a lot of this sleet that's supposed to be coming in the
if we have, in fact, the last bit of ice and snow that we had customers that have had damage from ice falling off the roof. If you have a pretty good pitch on the roof, the ice will fall off when it starts to warm up and crash right down most of the time on the HVAC system, and it could pull wiring out, which could short out the system. At best, you'd have to have us come and hook everything back up and see how it operates.
Is there a way, I mean, obviously, because you look at some homes and the units are just out far enough from the house, literally, just like you said, when that snow and ice is coming off the roof, it's going to hit the unit.
Right.
Is there like relatively inexpensive cases or shells that somebody can get for those units to protect, or what would you recommend, or have you seen something?
Not recommended. Okay.
Not recommended?
Not recommended at all.
Wow.
The reason for that, there are several different reasons, Josh, but one of the main reasons is when we cover up a unit, it's still exposed to the temperatures. Actually, it may be even a little warmer inside, and that gives opportunities for fungus and things like that to start growing on the equipment, on the inside of the equipment. We don't want that to happen. Number two, if we forget that cover's on there and we go and after the weather warms up a little bit and we kick it back on, we're really going to be in trouble, and we could actually damage the unit to the point of no repair.
Holy cow. So, I mean, obviously with the winter weather becoming a problem there, you got the heavy snow, the wet snow that sits on top of your unit. And obviously, when I think about that, especially chunks of ice falling off, I'm thinking about damage to fan blades.
Sure.
And not only that, but the cage itself.
And in most cases, though, that this is going to be covered with homeowners insurance. Okay, so if you're going to cover your unit up, here's what I would do. If I knew I was going to turn it off for a couple of days, I would put a piece of plywood on top of the unit. Yeah. So that if anything did fall on it, that it's not going to fall on the electrical cords or anything like that to pull them out.
Okay. All right. One of the things that we are going to be discussing on this particular edition of the show, got some good questions for Tony coming up. As far as preparedness, you're a homeowner right now. Are you doing things the right way? Are you making a log of your visits from your HVAC team? Do you know when the last time your equipment's been inspected? That and more coming up. It is Cool Time with Tony at Allied Air at 106.3 KRZK. KRZK News Time is coming up to 9:50. It is Saturday, March the 1st, 2014. 35 is the temp here at the Office Concept Studios. This is Cool Time with Tony at Allied Air. And Tony, of course, I gave you a pre-hint before that. As far as our homeowners out there, I think everybody can share in this, is that, I would say with your equipment, your HVAC unit, especially at your home, you need to be prepared. I mean, do you see this a lot when you're going out to particular locations, homes, commercial, where somebody can sit there and tell you, well, Tony, gosh, I don't know when this thing has been inspected.
Oh, definitely, all the time. And
it's too common, right?
We talked about that at the top of the show about the three different types of maintenance.
Yeah.
Let's talk about reactive maintenance, and that's what repair is. That's when you don't do anything until it stops working. It's kind of like your heartbeat, HVAC and your heartbeat.
It goes hand in hand, does it not, just about?
Well, you ignore them until there's a problem.
Yeah.
And when there is a problem, it's usually expensive to repair. And if you don't get the problem taken care of, you're going to have further problems down the line.
Well, and gosh, you know what? I'm gonna take this even back, and there's people out there that I know are gonna should agree with me at this. How long have has it been since you pulled out the filter?
Oh, that is a big one. It never ceases to amaze me. We go on calls all the time, at least 2 or 3 a year, where we ask the homeowner, well, where do you change your filters? Filters? We have filters?
Oh, no.
So that tells me all the problem right there.
You don't need to go any further than that. Now, I got to tell you, though, with the filters not being changed out, and forgive me again, I'm asking layman questions.
Sure.
You're right there with me, listeners.
Well,
if you're not changing the filters, Tony, that's a fire hazard, is it not?
Well,
or could it be?
More. I wouldn't say that, Josh, but here's the way filters work.
Yeah.
They get more efficient at their job the more they do their job. Okay. What does that mean? That means when we start to collect dust, they collect more dust. And they collect more dust. Mm-hmm. And they get more efficient at collecting dust out of the air. At the same time, your system works harder to push the air through the filter. And if we don't get the airflow, all this is based off of airflow. The 16-SEER piece of equipment, the 13-SEER piece of equipment, the 8-SEER piece of equipment, all that is based off of airflow and how much air we get across that inside coil. Okay?
Yep.
So if we start diminishing the airflow by not changing that filter, then we're dropping the capacity of the unit. We're making it work harder. We're costing ourselves more money and not getting the comfort that the system wants to give us.
Unbelievable. And that really, I mean, that all kind of goes together. We got a text. You're getting texts on your debut show already. We've got a listener. It's the 3851. They got a question. How do you turn on the emergency heat on a heat pump unit? Just moved into our home in August. The house is about 9 years old.
Well, every thermostat, every heat pump thermostat is equipped with 4 settings. You have the off setting, the cool setting, the heat setting, and then it's going to be either auxiliary or EM. And that's the setting that you look for on your thermostat. If you have a digital thermostat, you'll have to scroll through the options to find the emergency heat setting.
Okay. All right. Fantastic. Again, that is text coming from 3851. Appreciate you texting in on the show. Now, we talked about, I mean, you've been out on the job sites. You've gone up to the homeowners, and the homeowners have said, well, gosh, we've got filters. And that really is not a surprising thing to have happen. Now, it's all too common. You move into a house, whether you've been there 9 years, like our texter, or you just moved in, you're just walking into the house. I don't, is there not much concern there with how the ductwork is laid out or what type of unit you have until you actually have to look at it? Do you see that a lot?
Oh, yeah. In fact, most people think about air as invisible, an invisible property.
Yeah.
And it's really not. And once we get down to the atomic makeup of air,
yeah,
it's a fluid. Okay, we breathe fluid. Well, fluid is governed by the laws of physics. The laws of physics tell us that in order to move this much air efficiently to this space, we need to have our duct size this size. Okay, and so we take the complete system and we do a calculation on the ductwork itself. We make sure that it's adequate to supply the BTUs to the rooms that it's supposed to supply.
Fantastic. Well, Tony, I tell you what, my friend, your popularity is ever increasing here on the show. We got another text coming in, this time from 4220. And their text is, my unit is on the south side of my house where it gets very hot in the summer. Should I put up lattice alongside the unit to block the direct sun?
No. The outside, the ambient temperature really has little effect on your air conditioning. Okay, we don't want anything around that. If you have shrubs, anything around your HVAC system, remove them. We want to give that thing plenty of room to breathe. Okay, if we have clean coils, that's the first thing we need to make sure of. And the way we do that is with a chemical. We come out, and it's not the dirt on the outside of the coil, incidentally, that gives us a problem. It's the dirt impacted around the copper tubings that you cannot see.
Wow.
And so once we get that cleared, we want it to breathe, and that system is going to take our refrigerant temperature a good 20 to 30 degrees above ambient temperature, so that when we bring that across those coils, it can release the heat to the outdoors.
So no obstruction whatsoever. That would have been a common mistake I would have made.
Sure, and
wow.
it is a common mistake.
Fantastic. So again, we were talking before the text came in, obviously, about just of understanding your home, and if you have to educate yourself about the ductwork. Now, that kind of ties me back in. Now, when you guys come out there, obviously, and you're on a service call, whether it's commercial or in the home, and you're taking care of a whether it be a basic problem or a large problem, A lot of our listeners and prospective clients of yours, Tony, and whether they're pre-existing too as well, obviously now you make some really good recommendations to that particular homeowner coming out of a problem.
Oh, sure.
For them to, avoid it, but if they need to do something, you're going to tell them exactly how to do that.
Definitely. And, a lot of these homes that have been here for years and years, and they changed the equipment on it.
Yes, sir.
They may not understand why we have to change the ductwork, why we have to change some parameters that have been working for years and years. Mm-hmm. But again, that comes down to the new technologies and that tolerance level that we have with them.
So a lot of times, too, people sometimes if they have somebody come to their house or commercial setting, the problem is fixed, the person gets the bill, and then they're gone. Not so with Allied Air.
No, we make customers for life, and any of our customers out there will tell you we have a good working relationship with them. We're first name basis with Dave and myself with all of our customers, and we go out and do the work ourselves. We don't hire it done. Now, yes, we have people working for us, and yes, you may have someone come to your house that's not Dave or I in the future, but we're going to be really involved with each customer that we have.
Fantastic. Tony Martin with Allied Air, and of course, we're approaching our wrap-up time, and Tony, I've got to compliment you with this debut show, my friend. You sound as if you've been doing it for several years. That 35-year experience plus really has come into play here on the program. Before we get done here, obviously, again, for our listeners, want to make sure that they know, A, where to find you here in town locally, and also how to contact you if they have immediate needs.
Sure. Our shop, again, is over on BB Highway. We're normally not there. The best way to get us is on our phone or through the website. Our phone numbers, again, mine is 417-699-0027. You can get a hold of my partner, Dave Birch, at 417-230-5251. Our website is Branson Allied HVAC.com. That's Branson Allied, ALLIED, HVAC.com. Find us on Facebook under Allied Air Heating and Cooling.
And just about under a minute left before our wrap-up time, Tony, any base tips for our debut show that goes out to our listeners out there?
Well, just try to stay warm. If you lose electricity, have flashlights available, blankets available. Make sure you seal up your home tonight as well as you can. And please do not use barbecue grills to heat your home. That happens, and it's a fire hazard.
Really?
It does happen.
Is that something you see a lot?
Not a lot, but I have seen it, and it's an idea when it's cold and the electricity's out, you're looking for a source of heat. The best thing you do is stay in bed, cover up. That body heat trapped in the blankets and sheets is going to keep you a lot warmer than a barbecue grill.
And that's a very good point you make, my friend, too, as well. Obviously, space heaters have been in the news a lot lately, too, about being a real bad fire hazard.
Please, 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 if you're going to use space heaters, have fire extinguishing equipment on hand. Salt, powder, baking soda, anything.
This is Cool Time with Tony at Allied Air. The debut show is in the books. Tony Martin, I tell you what, my friend, great job on the show. We look forward big things from you each week right here, Saturdays from 9 to 10. Tony, thank you so much.
Thank you, Josh.
You're on News Talk 106.3 KRZK.